Welcome to Flex, everyone. This is a little different tonight. It's a Friday. This is a Friday Flex. And I did that because one of my guests works weekday nights teaching drums. So we don't want to mess up that schedule. So we've got things going here tonight. And we're going to do it a little bit differently. I'm so excited. This is going to be serve as a record release for my friend Rameen Shayegan. And we also have Todd Schied with us, who has produced Rameen's record. And I'm going to bring them on both here tonight. We're going to play some audio clips. We're going to have ourselves a little bit of fun. We're going to talk about the production and the genesis of making the record called Foreign Land. Would you please welcome Rameen Shayegan?
Hello,
and Todd
Dina.
Schied. There they are.
Hi, Dina. Hey, Rameen.
Gentlemen. Hey.
Hey, Todd.
We got all of our sound glitches out of the way. You know, this is what happens when we go on the internet. We got to get all that stuff worked out, and we got it worked out, and we're here. So today is launch day, right? Today is how did you do it? What did you do to release this?
Well, I must confess that, Todd and I completed all the work on this record about a year ago. And since then, I have been dragging my feet and sort of sitting on it, I think for a few reasons. One of them was sort of the practical reason of with COVID, we can't have a launch party or a big live performance event. And I think that was something that all of us were really looking forward to being able to do. And so sort of hanging on, hoping that that things would blow over a little bit sooner, or maybe we could get back to it. But that not being the case, seemed like the perfect time. I think I had a lot of anxieties about putting this music out. It's very personal, and it's the first time I've done such a thing. I know Dina, you've released a couple of albums already, and Todd has worked on many, but for me, it was the first time.
I understand that anxiety about it being personal. Yeah, and the traditional launch process, that release process is not happening for a lot of people this year. But I have heard that you get a do-over. Anything that you weren't able to do, at least in this realm, in 2020, you get a do-over in 2021, and we're gonna make that happen as best as we can. So, all right, how about a little bit of background? I'm gonna see if I can share the photograph of the cover. At some point, we're gonna get that up here. But so it's titled "Foreign Land." And when did you start writing for this in particular?
So in November 2018 or early December, I began working in earnest on some of these tunes. There were a few songs that I had sort of half written and filed away over the years, but most of the material that's on this project came from a pretty specific point of inspiration. I became fairly ill in November 2018 with dengue fever, and had sort of these weird fever dream visions that compelled me to write this music. And at first, approaching Todd right around maybe somewhere around January or February, I think, was the first contact that we made. Maybe
January 12th, 2019.
January 12th, 2019.
Page one.
In the composition book.
I reached out to Todd, whom I knew had worked with several of my friends on other recording projects, and Todd and I had only played together a couple times. Didn't really know each other super well, and stopped by and played some acoustic guitar for him, and showed him some of these songs, and from then things really snowballed due to so much encouragement and faith on the part of Mr. Schied.
Todd, do you concur?
100%. And I appreciate him acknowledging the encouragement. And but it is like completely genuine too. I mean, that first meeting, I'm sitting in the exact chair that I was sitting in, where I always sit when I usually work with somebody for the first time, and they're sitting 4 feet away from me, and we just play songs, and that connection that happens or doesn't happen sometimes happened, and it was just something I wanted to be involved with right away. He has a fantastic voice, an amazing spirit, amazing energy, a challenge because I knew enough of Rameen and enough of his spirit and enough of his energy to know that there was something there and something that needed that could use some harnessing, and so it was great. The first couple songs he played, I was super just drawn into his world, and I wanted to help him make a record, bring it to life.
And there were a few songs that you probably recorded, even gotten to the point of actual recording, but cut them, didn't actually put them on this record, right?
There were a few that we had rehearsed and did prepare to record. That for one reason or another they didn't feel right, or we just couldn't quite nail them. And incidentally, the two songs that I'm thinking of that did well, there were a few, but those two songs that I'm thinking of that didn't make the cut were ones that I had written long before this project. So it kind of, in a way, it actually makes sense that they didn't get on there, even though the reasons were sort of technical and due to just not quite nailing them, but they were sort of separate from the project to begin with. So, but those were some of the songs that I played for Todd, I think, initially.
Mm-hmm.
It's a song about a horse.
Oh, the horse. Yeah, I can see why that one didn't quite fit. So there you've got a vast amount of, I mean, a beautiful and wonderful group of players on this record. How did you come to choose them?
Well, that is a question. I can take part of that, and Todd is going to have to pick up at a certain point on this story, because at the outset of the project, as you know, but some of our folks who are joining us might not know, I'm primarily a guitar player and singer, but I like to play electric guitar, acoustic guitar, mandolin, and oftentimes would have developed sort of ideas of how different concurrent parts of a song should go between these different instruments. And so when Todd suggested that we try to record live as much as possible, for reasons that we'll get into in a little bit, I had to really think, man, if there are parts that I'm going to feel very strongly about, I have to put a lot of trust in the musicians who are going to play them. So thankfully, I happen to have some really, really wonderful friends who are generous with their time and their energy, and who have been extremely supportive through this whole process. Not least among them, Mr. Andy Kilcoyne, who is a local guitar wonder, and I know that for him, it was his first time in the studio as well. So to have, one guitar player directing, telling another guitar player what guitar parts to play, he really rose to that occasion. And in a lot of ways, I think did a much more justice to some of these songs in the service of the live performance than I could have done through an overdub, for sure. Now, some of the other folks were folks I had worked with before, like Bob Noble I had in mind. We did a gig together once, and just had a great experience playing with him. And we brought him on to play the bass. He's of the Quimby Mountain Band. Just wonderful, wonderful guy. And Quentin Fisher, who had given me some mandolin lessons in the past. And of course, yourself, Dina. But when it came to some of the other folks on the record, I really thought working with Todd from the outset Well, Todd's a professional drummer. I assumed that Todd would play the drums, and he asked me to make a leap of faith. I don't know, Todd, if you wanna pick that up. Some of the folks that you brought in, but
Sure. Yeah, I mean, putting a band together, I mean, making a record is really, it's just one of my favorite things to do. It's just so much fun. There's so many challenges, there's so many obstacles, but you're constantly working to help somebody realize a vision, to help somebody see their dreams come true. And I love that. I think that's the coolest thing. Just kind of take a step back, but also be really involved in helping somebody else realize a vision. That part of it is just, it's probably where I get the most excitement out of it. It's a lot of work. It's really tedious. It's terribly annoying. But to have somebody a year and a half later, text you at 7 o'clock in the morning and saying, with smiles that the record is finally out there and that they're happy about it, it's just the best feeling. It's the reason I do this, for sure. And in line with that, putting together a band is just one of the greatest parts of that process. It's so much fun because you get to think about their vision. You're always keeping their vision in mind. And then, I have a bunch of friends who play and who are fantastic musicians. And I know a bunch of drummers and there's a lot of drummers that I don't know that I wish I knew. And you just kind of look at the music and you're always in service to the song. At least I am, the way I produce. And you try to think of who's going to help bring the song to life, whether it's a drummer. And I was, fortunate that my good friend John Kimmock is a fantastic drummer and a very good friend, and he agreed to play on the record. So, I play drums, but I'm also producing this record, and I knew we were trying to do it live. So there's a lot of organization of trying to pull off what wound up being 7, 8, 9, 10 people in a studio for 4 days straight, who are just maniacs. I mean, we had rehearsals at my house, and it was not easy wrangling these people. And I knew John would come in and sort of affect the situation, I think, in a good way. Like, he wasn't crazy and zany. He's pro. He comes in. He's going to do his job. So they're all up here being crazy, crazy, crazy. So I'm like, all right, cool. John's going to come in here and just, be a rock, in many ways be a rock. So, I brought John in to play drums, and I'm just really happy because there were moments where I had to not convince Rameen about John, period, but just convince Rameen to let me choose somebody else other than me, because John was unavailable to rehearse. So the whole time, I mean, it was 3 days before the rehearsal and they barely met each other. I'm like, it's going to be great. Trust me, and it was. And, so just putting the band together is great. Having to work with Andy, who was, a little nervous about recording, was great. Bob was just perfect, really great. And Ben on keys was great. And bringing Quentin in was super fun. And I don't know, just putting a band together is one of my absolute favorites because you're in service to the song, but you just, I don't know, it's like you're putting together a dinner party. It's like, who's going to add this? Who's going to add this? Who's going to bring this? Who's going to do that? And when you can make magic or make something really special that Rameen's clearly happy about, then that's kind of what it's all about. So,
just to put into context, the sheer amount of work that Todd had to do to make the band, to make the band. I told him at the outset that I have some pretty severe organizational trouble sometimes, and one of them is around coordinating groups of people. And I think I even said directly to Todd, "Look, man, I'm not going to be able to get these musicians all in the same place at the same time. I'm not I'm not going to be able to coordinate all that. I don't want to have to pick up the phone and send a single scheduling email." And he said, "All right, well, who do you want to work with? Make a list, give me their contact info." And in the case of my dear friend Ben Craigie, Todd actually reached out to Ben so quickly that he got in touch with Ben before I had even asked him about playing on the. I was like,
Oh
wow,
my goodness.
this Todd guy is serious. This is actually going to happen.
It's so important to me that the roles, it's helpful to me, I should say. Maybe it's important, maybe it's helpful, who knows, but that the roles are clearly defined. and Rameen is the artist, and I'm the producer. So my job is to help him or to allow him to be an artist at all times. And the artist shouldn't have to, send boring emails about, scheduling and stuff like that. That's my job. So if that frees him up to kind of write more songs or to feel more free in a moment, then that's my job. And I just love it. And it allows me to control the situation, which
That's
is
right, and you need to. So how about we get to let's get into this and let's play a clip.
Let's talk about emails.
Let's talk who?
More about me sending emails. I'm just
No. We'll get to that later. So we're gonna play a clip from the title track, "Foreign Land." We're gonna come in, and once that's done, I don't know. Do you want to set it up just a little bit, real quick?
Sure. So, a lot of the tracks on this album deal with interpersonal miscommunications and misunderstandings, and a lot of that stems from no, I wouldn't call it a relationship, but an emotional entanglement might be a better word that I sort of found myself in, and I realized that. When one party is being, in this case it was me, was being very like forthright about their feelings, and the other party is sort of not, then it leads to like really badly very like bad misunderstandings and sort of misconstruing of people's intent and feelings. And I realized in the process of writing some of this music that the shoe was on the other foot. This is actually some karmic justice, perhaps, that I had been the other party before, and it really doesn't feel good to be on the receiving end of that sort of treatment. So that's what this song is about. It's about misunderstanding between people.
All right.
Guess I'm not a cautious man. Come on strong, I understand, it's what I do. When my heart began to heave, I wrung it out and let it bleed all over you. And I would have turned it off, maybe I did not know how to stop, I could not even slow it down. Every street we crossed, I put my life into your hand. Walking with a stranger in some foreign land. Walking with a stranger in some foreign land. Who predicts their own defeats? Even when I'm clearly beat.
So that one, yeah, that just sets the tone, right, for the whole journey that we're going to take with this record.
Yes, I think a feeling of, and I think it's something that a lot of people can relate to, the feeling of being sort of lost without a map in a place that is unfamiliar and at the mercy of forces or people that you're not really comfortable with, or that you don't really understand, and that's sort of, I think, the vibe that most of the record explores from a lot of different sides. It's funny, but the opening track you could almost think of as sort of the resolution of all those different sides of that equation, which are presented in the subsequent tracks. That at the end you're left with this feeling of uncertainty. Except in this case, we decided to go ahead and start right out with that to set the mood. In case anybody was under the impression that this was a happy record, it is. It's not an unhappy record, but it is decidedly not optimistic on the whole.
I don't think so. I really think it's whatever you want it to be, which I think is the beauty of a good record. So it's like for you have more awareness of, of the real deep meaning of the song. But to me, I don't know. There's so many little lyrics and so many little turns of phrases that could be interpreted in many ways. And that's the beautiful thing about a well-written song, is that may mean something to you, Rameen, but it's gone. It's not, to me, it's the songs aren't yours anymore. They're everybody's at this point.
Give them away. Yeah.
So, yeah. So,
and we should note that that's Quentin Fisher on the
violin,
Violin
and
on
Miss
the
Dina,
intro.
Miss Dina Hall singing some lovely harmonies there as well.
in the highest notes I could ever sing.
Um,
Very nice.
I'll turn them up.
In fact, as we were in the studio, Dina had by far the most studio experience of anyone there that I knew, and I say that only to the exclusion of John, because I didn't know him very well, but I know that he has quite a lot of recording experience. So Dina and Todd, were sort of two sides of the experience, guiding the guiding light for the rest of us. And Todd, has a job to do, strictly business. No offense, Todd, but really focused on reining things back in whenever we sort of would stray from our goal. And Dina you were so just a wonderful guiding presence, a calming presence.
I wondered what my role was.
Well, we were so nervous, we were all so nervous, and you've been there before. So
and I brought food too.
You did. Oh man, you fed the heck out of us. Absolutely.
And the beauty of it too is that you were at Red Rock Recording, and that is just, Todd, you're so comfortable there. I've recorded there my one time, and it's just it's a calming place to begin with. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So I think we're gonna continue this journey about foreign land, and we're going to continue into the song that you touched on this in the beginning about the dengue fever.
Oh yeah. So I had traveled to Cambodia at the end of 2018, and so vaccines are a topic of discussion, a big topic of discussion these days with COVID. It turns out that the only thing I couldn't get vaccinated for before leaving was for dengue fever. There is a vaccine, but it is not available in the United States. And as luck would have it, that is the ailment that I was struck with. So as I was sort of on the way back and experiencing a very severe fever, somewhere around 105.8 degrees, I was walking around like that. That's like actually shocking. It's like a coma level kind of fever. I started to have these very strange visions of what I had experienced, what I was experiencing, and in the aftermath, coming to write these songs, this sense of disorientation, and I think that's what this song is trying to convey, and it'll come through in the guitar parts that Andy is playing, sort of straight, sort of conventionally structured guitar parts during the leads, and then I am playing these very dissonant, strange, disorienting guitar parts, and sort of that fading in and out of things that make sense and things that don't make sense. Was something that we were going for in the production of this song. There is a what we call an F-bomb in this song somewhere, so I hope that's not.
You won't hear it.
Okay, very good.
You won't hear it. Here we go.
Breathe the bitter taste of leaded gasoline. Words are forming in your mouth, but I can't tell what they're supposed to mean. I'm having delirium dreams. I'm feeling weak in the knee. And
That's groovy. I can't help but get, loose.
Yeah, my mother taught us that dancing begins in the shoulders. You have to, the
Oh,
shoulder dance is an essential part of enjoying music.
I wish we had like another half an hour to talk about your mom. She was a wonderful influence,
She's
wasn't
great.
she?
Yes,
Isn't
big
she?
time.
Yeah. So I gotta honestly take note of Bob Noble's bass in that song. It's it's like it's like an unsung hero to me, and I right in that one spot, I just love it. Was that something he developed himself, or did you have guidance on that?
Well, the chord structure on that song is in sort of two very distinct sections between the verse portions and the chorus portions. And again, in the sort of theme of dissonance and disorientation, the two sections are very, very different. However, there's a lot of open space there for a musician as talented as Bob to fill. And man, you could say that about the whole project. Honestly, I think other than myself, I believe that Bob is actually on, and John Kimmock. I think that Bob is on more tracks than anybody else. He's the only guy handling the bass and the low end, and um, Bob. There are so many great bassists in the Lehigh Valley. There really are, but Bob sort of stands apart, not just because he's so talented and versatile. He can play an upright bass. He can bow a bass. He can play a fretless bass. He can really play the instrument in any configuration. But also, Bob is a very positive person. I don't think that at any point during the entire process of rehearsing for 4 months or 5 months, that Bob ever displayed the slightest signs of stress or distress about anything. He was just remarkably mellow and fun guy to hang out with.
And a serious chip enthusiast.
Oh yeah, we ate more like jalapeno flavored kettle chips during the production of probably than any record ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So that's one for the Guinness people, the Guinness World Record people. Like I don't know, 20 kilos of jalapeno kettle chips.
Most people bring like lots of beer to Sunday afternoon rehearsals, and these guys would bring just
chips.
chips.
It's good.
Be like,
Yeah.
oh, what do you got? What do you
Chips are
got?
good.
Yeah, not a lot of beer was consumed in the production of this record. This represents a pretty much sober effort on the part of all of us.
Excellent. Good to know.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Okay. Moving on to another. This track to me, this song it's different from everything else on this record. It takes me back to 80s rock and roll in some way, and you wouldn't even remember that, but that's what it did for me. So why, how, where did Plastic Heart come from?
Oh wow! Again, this is one of those very angsty songs, and I think if you interpret it too literally, I think it almost runs the risk of being like too mean or too harsh in its like criticism of another person. But that's not really, there's a lot of art that's like that. Uh, where it came from was just a sort of very raw feeling of sort of anger and betrayal, and wanting to internally sort of like reduce another, reduce this like person who has hurt you into like an unfeeling entity, right? Like they've got a plastic heart. It actually came directly from a comment that someone said to me about a dream that they had. That they had a dream that they were a broken cat with plastic insides, and I thought, wow, that's a really crazy image. So that sort of gets transferred onto the bad guy. But it's a very angsty song. It's sort of an anthem in some ways. It's definitely the most straight ahead rock and roll track on the whole record. I think initially when Todd and I first started working on this one, it was a lot more of a lo-fi, a little bit slower kind of sound, and the keyboard parts were a little bit more prominent. And I really love that version. Someday we might, dig it up and put it out there. But in the end, we had Ben switch from the Wurlitzer to the Hammond for this song. So the organs are a lot more, that's where a lot of that sound comes from, is the sort of rock organ that Ben is playing, which was so cool. We were able to run that through a real Leslie cabinet, and then Andy Kilcoyne just absolutely screams. His guitar is a screaming force of emotional expression on this song, and it's quite dear to me listening back to it because he and I put that guitar together. We put it together. It's a Telecaster with two P90s. So for you guitar nerds out there, it's kind of a rare bird, and it's a very unique tone. So yeah, it is. It's a little bit 80s. It's definitely angry. This is I would say a young man's song, but it's a young person's song of sort of hurt feelings. But you can scream it in the car, and it feels good.
All right, here we go.
Wow, it is pretty mean, isn't it?
It's cool. It's cool. Yeah. So, Todd, I had a question for you on that. And the backing vocals. We talked about this a couple of times, and you said you like to pull those backing vocals about, just enough so that they're what? Tell me, like the treatment on that.
Oh, geez, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Well,
remind me more of what I might have said in that moment.
In the moment, you were talking about not having them. This was my impression of it. This was my take on it. Not necessarily as a harmony, not necessarily competing with the melody vocal, the main vocal, the lead vocal, but they're just sort of like an embellishment, and mixed in with everything else, like an instrument, not necessarily the words that are being sung.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that I take out of all this stuff is, and I think it's important to remember, is we cut all of this stuff 90% live. I mean, everything: live bass, live drums, live acoustic guitar on almost every song, live vocals. That's something that people don't do. Rameen recorded 80 to 90% of his vocals 100% live in the studio with the whole band playing at the same time, which is just, people don't do it. Nobody does it. So that's just absolutely amazing that he agreed to do it and that we pulled it off. It was a miracle. Actually, it's not a miracle, but it's awesome, and I think it's something to keep in mind. So we had, what do we have? Guitar, multiple guitars on this, drums, bass, Hammond organ, which just eats up so much space, vocals, guitar, probably a guitar overdub here or there, probably a little percussion. So when it comes to background vocals, like there's not a lot of room in the production to fit it in. And the mind, when anybody listens to music, like you fill things in on your own. So you don't need the vocals right up there in your face to tell you that there's somebody else singing Plastic Heart, blah, 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 whatever the lyric is. Like, you don't need it. So you just put it there. So it still allows the guitars to speak. It still allows the drums to punch, still allows the lead vocal to be there. So it just sort of serves a purpose to like remind the ear, like kind of like psychoacoustically, like you just there's somebody else singing. There's more friends in the room, like you don't need your friends jumping on top of you all the time. They're in the room with you. And that's kind of maybe what I was, insinuating perchance.
I think on this one, Dina, so you and I are both singing some backing vocal parts on that song. And I think I recall that conversation that sort of what we were going for was rather than our backing vocal parts tracking the whole chorus through, they emphasize specific parts of this. So it's the you've gotta, you don't need backing vocal. Then it's Plastic Heart, bam, it comes in like sort of like a hammer. And then it takes a break, girl-shaped box, hammer, waste my time, and it comes in these blocks, which I think sort of in the back of our minds was this notion that those are the words that people are going to want to shout along with. And I think that what we've done is to sort of encourage that for listeners, that as you're listening to this song, it's almost like a cue. It's almost like a cue to the listener that like, it's okay. You can like scream things in your car. You can primally engage with this music. And I think that that's the energy that we got from your backing vocals and from mine. I think that really is in service of the song. Now, coming back to the fact that we recorded it live, Todd says he's surprised that I agreed to do it, but I must confess.
No, I recant that 100%. That was something you wanted to do, and I definitely at first was like, all right, well, we got to be. Yes, you were 100%. I was totally wrong in saying that.
No, you were right. I just didn't know any better. I didn't realize number one how challenging it would be, and I think this is a great opportunity to talk about some of the things that most impressed me, in retrospect about how Todd approached this record and the process of recording, which is. I'm a guitar player and a songwriter. I really don't know anything about recording or music production. I know how to do a live performance. I know basically what goes into that. But beyond sitting behind the board at Godfrey Daniels, or whatever, watching someone do that's sort of the limit of where I would be comfortable running sound. But when we first got together and started talking about these songs and how I wanted them to sound at the end of the process, based on music that I love, music from Jason Isbell, music from John Prine, from Jackson Browne, things like that I really love, even like some of the Chris Stapleton songs. Todd was able to put together sort of put together a roadmap for how to get there, and based on things that I did not know, but that are a part of his expertise. And there was a thread among a lot of the songs and music that I loved, which was that they have a lot of space in the song. I'd say "Plastic Heart" that we just listened to is probably the most full, the like the least spacious of them, and yet we still managed to get some of that in there. But that the lyrics and the melody is sort of floating above everything else. It's sort of like everything else is in service to that, which as a songwriter, is a little scary because you're front and center, as opposed to, if you're playing something where the music is drowning out the lyrics and it doesn't matter what the lyrics are, it's a lot harder to be self-conscious about the lyrical content. So, like I say, didn't really know anything about music production, and as Todd and I listened back to things that I like, and he turned me on to other things that I hadn't heard before, and said, "What do you think of this production?" I think that he really nailed the feel. It is the closest feeling to a live performance in its experience as a listener, because it is basically a live performance. And the stuff in between, Todd can speak to how he achieved that and what sorts of thought process goes into getting that sound at the end of the process. But man, it was super successful. It really, really worked.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add to it other than we rehearsed a lot. It's one of those things where you practice, you rehearse, but you're really preparing yourself, not necessarily to do something right. You're preparing yourself to have an experience in a moment. And everybody's such fantastic musicians. So you rehearse for a moment to have an experience with the moment or in the moment. And that's, that comes back to putting a band together, but there's also details involved. Like you shouldn't, when you go into the studio, you should know what the tempo is, because that's really important for like the feel and the experience of the song. And you're not guessing, is it here, or am I playing it too slow this take? Like we clicked it off at every, with the metronome before every take. I was in the room with my metronome, just annoying everybody. Mm-hmm. But it was some sort of sense of home for everybody. So, that and just rehearsing and having the arrangement figured out, and but it was really all about preparing for the moment, preparing for everybody to have a positive experience in the moment where you just play. You don't have to think about tempos or keys or arrangements or anything. Like it's all understood. Let's just play.
And credit to Tim Lynham for being on the board while you were in the room.
There's
big time.
No way
counting off that metronome.
Yeah, there's no way I could have accomplished it. I mean, it was great working at Red Rocks. I love that place. And I wish I was in the control room, because that's where I love to just fiddle with toys. But having Tim there basically running everything, and I was just able to be in there with those guys in the room. That was great. So yeah.
Cool. All right. So I want to get to the last song we're going to play. In my opinion, this is the song that I could just put the headphones on or sit in the car and turn it up as loud as possible and then just let it wash right over me. I think that, to me, this is the standout song from the entire record. I think this is the one to watch. So I'm just going to play it and then let you tell the story. Okay.
Westward ho, timberline. There's a promise of gold and of silver mines. Anyhow, underground is where one day we all shall be. Timberline, take me home to the warmth of lovers I've known before this cold.
Isn't that just beautiful? Talk about space. So much space. All right, tell us about that one. How did that come to be?
Sure. So I can give you some background on the subject matter first.
Yeah.
I well, okay. So I was watching the Netflix series Godless, which is a sort of feminist Western series. It's awesome. Strongly recommend. And I started to get curious about the experiences of women in the Old West, because it's all cowboys and bank robbers and things like that that sort of capture the interest of young men. But there's this whole other side of things that doesn't get nearly the attention that it deserves. Just the experience of women during like the late period of the gold rush, for example. So I started just out of interest in this time period, going through the historical archives of the Kansas State Historical Society, which are online, and I was scrolling through these pictures, and there was this photograph which you put on the screen there of this young woman staring at the camera, and she has this incredible expression of I don't know, like sorrow and judgment at the photographer, all at the same time, and she's strikingly beautiful. And it says Timberline. It's just sort of handwritten on the bottom of the photograph. So I looked this person up. It turns out that there were 2 or 3 articles written by mostly feminist historians about this person. Her name was Rose Vastine, and she was a prostitute in the mining and lumber camps, first in Kansas and then in Colorado. And she had a very, very hard life, based on the historical record, which is very sparse. And she was known as Timberline because she was 6'2", so she was very, very tall, like a tree. And as I sort of meditated on this image, I sort of thought about her life and the lives of the people who were interacting with her. And I just this story came to me. It was from the perspective of a cowardly lover who left her there to and didn't take her with him on the rest of his journey for whatever reason. And so I hope that she wouldn't be offended that I've taken liberties with her story and filled in some blanks with my own imagination. But we wanted to create this sort of Western soundscape. And there are 3 things I think that are really instrumental in how Todd and I achieved that. One of them is Ben Craigie, my childhood friend, who played keys on this whole record, whether it was Wurlitzer or the Hammond. We actually pulled out a grand piano for this track. So Ben is playing totally in his element on a really, really wonderful piano that just sounds incredible and is it's a very moving thing to hear. And then the other thing is the orchestration between the piano, the guitar, and the drums, which Todd was sort of in there, and there was another period during which my friend Mark Spellman was orchestrating us as well, which I can talk about in a moment. But orchestrating to help, because Todd had heard this song so many times, and John had not. And so it's really hard to get that feel without someone sort of conducting you. So that was a really instrumental part of getting that loose, but almost relaxed, but very well choreographed instrumental stuff down. And then the third, and perhaps the part that I am most thrilled, and still kind of shocked about, is that lap steel part with Mr. Steve Kimmock of sort of international renown, who came in and very, very graciously came in after we had recorded the record, came over to Todd's and tracked in this beautiful, haunting lap steel part. So I think those are some of the things that make the song really special.
Yeah. I mean, it also, yes, those are important, but I mean, for the moment I heard the song, it was perfect. It was done. There was, sometimes I would have said to Rameen, oh, let's write another verse, or let's talk about this lyric or this, that, or the other thing, this arrangement. But I mean, from the very moment I heard that, I mean, I still have the original version that he played, and I'm like, I don't know which one's better. It's like that raw one that where he's sitting right in front of me, killing me with this story and this amazing lyric and this just perfectly arranged song, like right out the gate. It was just, to me, when I hear a song that's that perfect, it's just like, don't screw it up, and yeah, it was cool. There's also some little serendipity. I think Ben originally wasn't playing the piano, and he's like, what if I try piano on this? And then we're like, oh yeah, let's just do a take like that. Pulled open the door of the drum room, and everything's just bleeding into each other, and they just had a moment. The band just had a moment, and it was perfect, But it's important to me that the spirit of the song is just the same from the very first moment I heard it to when we just listened to it. Then it's just a really well written song, and we were able to complete it, without any sort of injustice to it. So.
And that's, the beauty of a really good song like that is that you can strip it down, and Rameen, you can go out and play it solo and still, drive a nail through somebody's heart with that thing just on your own. That's a beautiful melody.
Thank you. I'm quite proud of that one.
Yeah, and imagery.
Well, it brings up a point, which is that there were several occasions where I came to Todd with stuff that was like half written or just not quite right. And I, it's very hard to see that, when you're, it's like self-critical and you think everything is always wrong. Like, it's hard to tell how wrong, how wrong something actually is. Or on the other hand, when you're really hot on some idea and it's like, no, it's perfect, leave it alone. And I'd get some feedback from Todd that's like, hey, you might want to write another verse here, or like really think through the arrangement, because you're gonna, you're not gonna be happy later on if you leave that. Just spend more time thinking about it. And sometimes it was as simple as going upstairs and grabbing an envelope and writing another verse, which did actually happen on I think on the song Lily Marie. And sometimes there was a lot of thought that had to go into making things right, and I'm very, very pleased to say that now in retrospect and listening back to it a year and a half later, that the decisions that we made were the right ones, and that the counsel that Todd gave was the right stuff. So very, very, very excited to let other people listen to it, make their own experiences with this music. Draw their own conclusions as to what the songs are about. They're all somewhat vague, That was another thing Todd really helped me with quite a bit, and my friend Nadine. That when you're writing personal songs that are to you about like very specific, you have very specific events or feelings in mind. As Todd said, that doesn't necessarily mean that the listener has that sort of inside information, or is going to be able to like relate to the song if it's too specific, if it's too personal. So that's something that I have worried about quite a bit, and I'm sure many songwriters do. Is this music relatable? Is someone who doesn't know me or who just happens upon this music, is this going to move them and mean something to them, whether it's the same or different than what it means to me? And I hope the answer is yes. And I think the answer is yes for this record. So,
I want to point out a couple of things because we're getting to the 1 hour mark. we could talk and talk and talk. I know, and I'll let you get in anything important. But I want to remind everyone that you've got this out on Bandcamp, Apple Music, and Spotify. I want to just mention that today is a Bandcamp Friday, and what that means is Bandcamp will waive all of their revenue, whatever they might make from the records. They're doing this on certain Fridays throughout, 2020, 2021. And today is one of those days. So I'm going to put this link in the comments and you can click on it. And if you go to that link, particularly today, you still have several hours. You can get that through Bandcamp, and Rameen will get the full. They won't take any fees. They won't take anything. They won't take any of that from it. And then we'll put up the other links as well in the comments as well once we get through. So a couple of things we're going to mention here is you're going to work hard to get this out on radio, right? Todd, we're working WXPN. We've made connections at WDIY, and I just have to mention to everyone, whatever that station is, because I know a lot of you people, if you're watching this, you do listen to independent radio, not necessarily commercial radio. So whatever station it is you listen to, MUH, LVR, they don't have music so much, but whatever they have at Lehigh University, WDIY, WXPN, request songs from this record.
Yes.
That's my suggestion. Request them.
And for God's sake, if you know someone out there that you think would enjoy this music or would connect to it, please send it to them. Send them to the music. Send the music to them. That would mean a lot. It would mean a lot to me, just to know that people are giving it a chance to enjoy and connect with.
Exactly. All right. What else? Anything we didn't hit? Do we have to say anything more on this? Todd, what do you want to say?
I don't know.
He's got his notebook out again. His composition book.
No, I just want to say it's been a lot of fun. It's just every record to me is a special process. You I didn't know Rameen, and now, I mean, I count him as an absolutely fantastic friend. We talk regularly about music and about other things, So it's just one of the special joys to me about making music with people. You really, he really trusted me, and that's just awesome. I love it, So to sit here a year plus afterwards, where he's still happy, is just it's really great for me, and it's really good. And just having everybody in the band just feel comfortable just playing live in the moment it's the best. It's the way. I don't want to be all nostalgic about making music, because I think there's lots of cool music that's made like this, tons of it, but if you can pull it off live, it's just super, 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 super special. So
yeah. Cool.
Well, this certainly will not be the last record that Todd and I put together. And hopefully we can put the band back together again and bring everybody in, once some of these songs are a little further along. But there are plans for not Foreign Land 2, but something else, something new. Really looking forward to continuing to work on that now that we've got a system.
Cool. I'll bring the chili.
No system.
Great.
Spaghetti at the wall.
Oh.
Thank you so much for having us, Tina. Wow, what a pleasure. And for all of your work and participation in this record. We couldn't have done it without you.
Wow, what a joy. I'm smiling too. Gorgeous. All right. Thank you both for spending this time with us together. Thanks for everyone who has been watching tonight. The links are in the comments. And thank you for your commentary. And there's Andy Kilcoyne chiming in. There he is.
Howdy, Andy.
Good to see you, Andy.
I miss you, Andy. I feel like I could throw a stone. You're so close. I haven't seen you in like a year.
Yeah. Oh. Here we go. All right. Thanks a bunch. And I hope to see you sooner rather than later. One thing I do ask everybody to do is give a high five. Can we do this?
Oh, wait.
Oh, we have to.
That way or down.
That works. Todd?
Todd?
Oh
It's
God.
not easy. I won't torture you any further. Thank you, folks.
Dina, you rock. Thank you so much. Todd, We'll be in touch, buddy. We got more music to record here.
Love it.
All right. See y'all.
Ciao.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. I want to take a quick note that 10% of any tips that might come along for this program are donated to Turning Point of the Lehigh Valley, and there's the link down there. I can put that in the comments as well. But today, I think I want you to take your money and support Rameen and his record, and I'll catch you around. Everybody's chiming in here today. So happy to see all these names. Beautiful. All right. I'll see y'all another day.